It's Mondays with Mikey and Murf. We back. We having technical difficulties and we kind of getting butthurt. But we are an awesome rated podcast talk show. We're going to have good times. Let's go. It's Mondays with Mikey and Murf. Oh, here we are once again, season 3, let it begin. That's right, it's a COVID year, but it's going to be a championship coming here to Las Vegas. It's our new hometown. We got Murphy doing it in the Tennessee town. He's doing big things, y'all. I'm very proud of Murph, and thank you for being with us. This is Mondays with Mikey and Murf. The training camp special, we talking Raiders and football dirt. We're gonna have a good time, fun time, let's go. It's Mondays with Mikey and Murf. Yo, 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 a pirate's life for me. Let's do it. What's going on, Murph? How you doing? It's Mikey Raider and Murph here on Mondays with Mikey Murph. What's going on there, Murphy?
Mikey, I'm doing fantastic. I'm absolutely so excited to be back here in the On Air Nation studios for this episode of Mondays with Mikey and Murph. Man, it's been a long time since we did one of these, man, and I'm fired up for it, brother. I'm excited.
Mikey's alive.
Yeah, he is.
Mikey's alive. People thought we broke up, like the band broke up. Like people thought we broke up.
No, Yoko did not break up this Lennon and McCartney pairing.
Again, I don't want to get into all my personal issues, but Mikey Raider's a mess. That's all we're going to say. So, Mike, but you love me, you hate me, it's all good. But we're back for season 3. Apparently, football is coming back, and we're going to talk some football. We're also going to have a couple of sensitive subjects, but that truly need to be talked about. So be forewarned. But most importantly, it looks like the Las Vegas Raiders are going to play some type of football this year during the pandemic.
They sure are. And whether we're there to watch them live or not, they're going to be playing some football, just like they're playing some baseball and playing basketball, playing some NBA now as well. So, and hockey's getting ready to start. So sports are back, and that's a good thing for all of us.
Correct. So, Murph, you've been doing a lot of big things. I've been seeing you with Will Compton, with Raider players in your studio. I've been seeing you and Raider Cody getting down, doing amazing podcasting work, raising money for charities. And just when I talked about charities, the light got bright on my head. Why? Because the stars and the sun is shining down on us. Hallelujah. But other than that, Murph, I wanted to give you some facts that you might not know.
Oh, okay.
Our channel, On Air Nation, and your channel as well, in terms of podcast on YouTube, and don't quote me,
okay,
my stats and facts may be a little incorrect because Mikey Raider's a mess, but beyond every Raider podcast that's out there that I truly know of, we are ranked 3rd and 4th in terms of the views that we've had on both of our podcasts. So, of course, we got the official Raiders.com podcast on YouTube, and that does like 10,000 views or whatever, 11,000 for their podcast. Then there's the NBC Scott Bayer podcast. They do about 7,000 views, 6,000 views. Then Mondays with Mikey and Murph, I went back and looked at our best video of our podcast.
Yeah.
And it had around 4,800 views, like 5,000. Then I was looking at Raider Cody's. He does an amazing podcast. I'm not saying anything wrong.
Absolutely.
And all the other podcasts. And I couldn't find the views in terms of the numbers that hit, around 5,000 for my channel. So I was like, that makes me 3rd, I guess, in terms of the YouTube podcast scale. It makes Mondays with Mikey and Murph 3rd. Then some of your recent podcasts on Murph Fan Cave, they hit 3,400, 3,500 numbers.
Yeah.
And we're neck and neck. So the truth is, we're like 3rd place, bro. Both of our channels in terms of a Raider podcast on YouTube.
Awesome, man. Well, I couldn't be prouder, and it's all 100% a credit to Raider fan, man. Raider Nation, supports these shows and supports us fan content creators. You and I, and anybody, the other names aside from the NBC folks and the official Raiders podcast. I mean, we're not pros, man. We just do this stuff.
That's what I mean. We're competing with the pros.
We're competing with the pros, man. And so the fact that Raider Nation supports us and what we're doing, man, I can't thank them enough. And, you mentioned some of the opportunities that we've had here lately with our channel and heck, even going all the way back to really the whole entirety of last year. Some of the things that we were able to do with our show, and some of the interactions and the opportunities that opened up, and then subsequently, and most importantly, the fundraising opportunities that have come from that.
You guys have done amazing.
Thank you. And we, if you don't mind, will you allow me to plug something real fast?
Plug everything, bro. Plug in your TV, plug in your microwave, plug it in.
All right. So you mentioned I had Compton here in the studio. For those of you that don't know, I'm originally from the Bay Area, spent the majority of my life there, but now live outside of Nashville, Tennessee, which is where Will Compton, number 51 for the Oakland Raiders, also lives. So through Cody and some mutual friends of ours, we got to know each other. He came on our show, did an interview with us, and I told him that I bought this number 51 jersey, a Nike replica jersey. And I asked him if we ever run into you locally, would you be willing to sign it? And we will then donate 100% of the profit or proceeds, whatever, to the Middle Tennessee Relief Fund as far as tornadoes go. Right before COVID hit, we had some tornadoes that came through and did some pretty severe damage around our communities. So Will agreed to it. Well, after we got to know Will, he came over to the fan cave. Me and my co-host Swag Jeff actually hung out with him for the entirety of an afternoon. We went and had lunch and hung out, and he came in here to the fan cave. We did an interview. It's all up on my channel. If you go to youtube.com/Murph's Fan Cave, you can watch the full interview with us and Comp there. And anyway, so he was so gracious to sign this jersey. So I'm auctioning this thing off. And as of today, Will, the autographed jersey that Will did while he was here, as of today, this thing is up to $500. So I'm going to show you what it is. It's right here, if you can see it. So can you see that on the camera there, Mikey?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so it says Will Compton, and then it's signed For the Boys, that's in reference to his podcast.
Which is Bussin' with the Boys.
Bussin' with the Boys, which is him and left tackle of the Tennessee Titans, Taylor Lewan. And so anyway, so he signed that, Will Compton, For the Boys. If you want to get in on that, email me. You can email me at Murf, M-U-R-F, at RaidersFanRadio.com. If you got $501 in your pocket and you want this jersey, then send me an offer on it. I've got a flood of offers that came in today, and right now $500 is the high bidder. And we're gonna let this thing run up until Wednesday when we go live and do our show this week, which is going to be our Fanny Awards, which is our annual award show that we do. And so, anyways, if you want to get in on that, send me an email, Murf, M-U-R-F, at RaidersFanRadio.com. If you want to make a bid on it. And again, 100% of the money that I get, I'm going to turn right around and give it to the Middle Tennessee Tornado Relief Fund. And so thank you to all of you that have already submitted bids. We appreciate you. We love you. This is what Raider Nation does, man. This thing, we say it's family, and it's no joke. It's familiar for a reason, man. We take care of one another, and there's some folks in my local community that need some help. And so this is what we're going to do to help them out.
Yeah, 100%. And we had technical difficulties, but I promise you, Raider Nation, I will have all the information to his auction in the description of this video later tonight after it's either uploaded or processed. And you guys can come back and find all that information to find Murf, to find the Will Compton show, to, find his email and everything to bid on the auction. So just if I could end the summary, that we are competing with the big boys in terms of podcast. And that made me really proud when I found out that information. And then we got the young up and comers that are doing amazing, like the Raider Codys and, the other people that are doing podcasts as well. And I'm just very, very proud. And I want to send out love into the world to every video maker, every Raider Nation podcaster, video maker, whatever you are. Thank you very much. But again, I don't include shows like Chat Sports and all that, because to me, they're not like a podcast. Like, we made a podcast show. But yeah, you understand what I'm saying, though. Like, we have a podcast where people talk back and forth. So, but we're like number 3, Murph.
Right
Your
on,
channel
man.
and mine. We're number 3. We're the top dogs, bro.
I love it, man. I'm very proud of that accomplishment. Again, thank you, Raider Nation, for supporting us the way that we do. All the channels, all the shows, and and we're an audio only podcast too, the Murph's Fan Cave Network, and those numbers are continually climbing and do every week. I mean, we get new listeners every single week, and so thank you again. And yes, and I mean everybody from Samoan Raider, and of course Raider Cody, as you mentioned, Pillaging Podcast
Silver and
guy.
Black Today is out there now too as well. Silver and Black Today from Las Vegas. I think his name is Scott. He's doing amazing things as well. They're live right now, actually. I don't want to give them a plug, but they're live right now.
Behind the eye patch guys have always been great to us. Monster Mash Ken has always been incredibly kind in his support of us here in our show. And so anyways, and he's done
Mojo. Of course, all these people are coming up, man.
Absolutely.
We love them all.
Absolutely. And also your boy Q, who does the Locked On Raiders podcast, another guy. Like all these folks that do all these shows, man, we have become not just peers of ours, but of colleagues of ours, and so we got a lot of respect for them, and so continue to support what they do. And yes, of course, I'm very proud of where we're at as far as numbers and rankings go, and all that, and embrace that entirely. But I'm also a firm believer in like what Kenny from Pillaging says: a rising tide raises all ships. We're not competing with one another. It's all about lifting each other up, man, and celebrating this whole thing we call Raider Nation.
Yeah, I mean, you're completely right, but in terms of my depression, I needed that to motivate me. You get it? Like I felt like I was losing everything in life.
Hey.
I'm losing everything. And I saw the numbers and I was like, we're doing pretty good. It may not last forever, and that's okay. But then I was like, man, we're kind of competing with the top dogs right now. And it made me proud. It said, me and Murph, like, we're doing something good. And I was like, I got to do a Mondays with Mikey and Murph. Oh. And it inspired me and it got me off of my damn butt to do a show, and that's why we're here. Hey, and I'm proud, Murph.
And I'd rather be the first, second, third than fourth, fifth, or sixth. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm not hating on it. I love it that we're up there that high. Like, that's great. And I love it that we're up there and we're running with the pros, because that is different. Those people do that for a living. I do this from my bonus room. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is with those folks, I don't mind competing a bit. Like, that's a whole nother story. You know, the Eddie Pascals of the world, whatever. We're coming for you, dude. Like, and I don't have any qualms about that, but because those guys get paid for it, we don't.
Yeah, but I love it. Silver and Black Today, all the people we mentioned, Raider Cody, again, they're going to move up in the ranks. They're probably going to be the top dog soon. But that's kind of interesting to think that the pros might be overtaken by the fans.
Heck yeah, man. Absolutely.
That's pretty damn cool.
Absolutely.
All right, so let's get this show started.
All right.
Sorry, I lost my train of thought because I'm a fool.
You're not a fool, Mikey. What's our first segment coming into? We got it was our training camp special, right? So let's kick it off with the first big topic we got tonight.
Yeah, that's right. All right. So long story short, I respect every Raider podcaster, video maker. I love you all, and I'm proud of you all. And I'm back, and hopefully we have an amazing season 3 with Murph on your channel as well. I'm freaking positivity and love, and that's what.
Oh, Mikey, you're cutting out, buddy. Oh, Mikey, your mic is all the way cut out, brother. We don't. Okay, yeah, I can't hear you. Okay, I'll fill the air there until you come back in. So just to give you an idea of some of the things we're going to talk about tonight, we're going to talk about some of the concerns around COVID, like whether we're going to have a freaking football season or not, and if we do, if we're going to have fans in the stands. We're going to talk about the preseason, about what's going to go on around the preseason. As of right now, the NFL has canceled it, but we'll get into more of that. We're going to talk about Mark Davis and some of the comments that he's had here so far this offseason around the fans and that whole notion of no fans being at the games. Then we're going to get into some of the more sensitive stuff, like Mikey had mentioned. Some things about...
check.
Hey, there he is. We got you. All right, brother.
Check.
We got you now, Mikey.
Check. All right. Sorry about that, guys. We're having a lot of technical difficulties.
Hey, it's our first time back in a while. We got to work out the kinks. We got to get the gremlins out of the building, man. It takes a minute.
All right. So, like I said, before we started the show, let's sing the song that we sang, What the World Needs Now
is love, sweet
love.
Any
It's the only thing.
Any Burke Baccarat fans out there?
Is that who it was? Burt Baccarat? Sounds like a game you play in Vegas, Baccarat.
And I really, I would kind of know that, but I really know that because of Austin Powers, The Spy Who Shagged Me, because in that one scene where him and what's her name? I know it's Heather Graham, but what's her character's name?
Tia Carrere? Oh no.
No. And is it? Oh darn it.
Kitty something.
Oh gosh, and they're up on the top of the, or no, maybe it's from the first one. Maybe it's anyways, but he goes, they're on the top of the double-decker bus, and he goes, ladies and gentlemen, Burt Baccarat. And then Burt Baccarat starts playing that song on top of the bus.
That's right. I do remember that scene now, but I don't remember.
Is it Felicity Shagwell? Is that her
Probably.
name? I don't know. Heather Graham was gorgeous in that movie, though, by the way. Just side note.
Well, I worked on Evolution with Julianne Moore, and Heather Graham and Julianne Moore were in Boogie Nights, and they were both naked. So, that's something I got to see people I work with naked. All right, let's move on. It's 5:30. I believe the show's officially going to start.
Okay.
Let's do it. It's time for the headlines, deadlines, breadlines. Murph, I still love the Broadway show rent.
Yeah, you do, and you don't like to pay it.
And I don't like to pay my rent. All right, guys. So the Raiders are in Las Vegas for the inaugural season in their well-deserved stadium, where we have lost the draft due to the pandemic. We have lost a lot of things. Mark Davis is mad. A lot of things are going on. So I'm just going to start with some concerns. We're going to start with the negatives, but we're going to end up with the positives on this show.
Yes.
So do you have any concerns regarding COVID and no preseason, fans wearing masks? And do you think whoever is crowned a champion this year should have an asterisk next to their team? What are your concerns for the Vegas Raiders, the players, and this entire season?
Wow. Well, there's a lot to unpack there, so I'll just keep it on the easier addressed one for a show of our qualifications, we'll say. Because if I start telling you what I think about the COVID, then I'm gonna appeal to a third of the people listening, and everybody else is gonna have their own opinions and thoughts and whatever. So let me just.
All right, let's go through the questions. How do you feel about no preseason? How will that affect the Vegas Raiders having no preseason?
I think it's going to affect the Vegas Raiders the same way it's going to affect every other team. And so therefore, because it's balanced, I think that it's fine. What's disappointing is that when you have a team that skews younger like we do, without them getting those additional reps at game speed, even though it's preseason game speed, I think that definitely can play a part, or that can be a potential detriment considering the youth that we have. And also, it's going to be a really monumental task for our strength and conditioning department to keep these guys healthy through the first part of the season, because without that ability to get that kind of game time experience, I mean, rookies get hurt already as it is. So let alone remove 4 preseason games out of the equation. It just allows for those non-contact injury kind of things, hamstrings and whatnot, to pop up when we do start getting into the live fire of an actual game. So I think that could skew against the Raiders in a little bit of a way, but at least, again, at a minimum, every team is dealing with the exact same conditions. So, we'll just got to deal with it.
Yeah, I'm pretty upset. It sounds funny. I've never really liked preseason games, but because it's back to football, I enjoy watching them. And now I'm ready for it. This year, I'm like, I want preseason games because of the pandemic. But again, health-wise and concerns, I can understand why they got rid of it. But man, the last couple years I've enjoyed, because I'm a podcaster and a broadcaster for the Raiders, I've enjoyed watching the preseason to see these undrafted players that we've talked about, or these 7th round draft picks get on the field. And I'm really, really mad actually that there's no preseason, because I want to watch that. Yeah. I want to enjoy the story of that, and it's not going to happen this year. The rosters have already been brought down to 80 players going into the preseason. They're just taking their COVID test. How many players are going to be, positive, negative, go in a bubble, be quarantined? I don't know. But it's going to affect so many people that are not going to make this team that deserve a shot. And it's pretty sad in terms of fandom for the NFL.
Well, it's going to be interesting.
A season?
Well, yeah, I think there should be a season. I think what's going to be interesting is, as we're seeing now in baseball, baseball's taking all the precautions, including even some players and coaches and whatnot, managers wearing masks on the field. So baseball's taking all these precautions, and yet you still have a team that gets a quote outbreak like you get in the Florida Marlins, so they just canceled their game. Well, okay, in baseball, at least in this, normally you have, 160 games, and now here we're going to have just 60 of them, but still that's a heck of a lot more than 16. And so what happens if you're an NFL team and you have an outbreak in your locker room? What if you have it during the postseason? Then even more but here's the thing, and here's where ultimately I land on it, is that it's not going to be what we're used to. And none of our lives are. So there shouldn't be an expectation from us as people that this is going to go on like it always has. It's going to go on in a unique way. And so it may not mirror or resemble what our typical NFL season experience looks like, but I'm willing to embrace whatever it is, because at least it's the NFL. Now, look, something may happen to our team that really sucks. Something may happen to another team that really sucks. Something may happen that they can't affect balance on, because you can't control an outbreak. You can't control who gets sick. Like that, they can take every precaution, but ultimately you can't determine it. That's going to be left to so many different things that we just have no control over. So, but what's the alternative? The alternative is to eliminate it. Well, that's not, I don't think, a good answer either. We as a society need sports. There's a reason that they exist. And it's because and we'll get into more of this later when we get into some other topics, but it's escapism for us. It's the ultimate in reality TV. And so the opportunity to be able to, to witness it and to find emotion in it. And you think about all the goodwill that got brought with the draft this year, even though it was done virtually, it felt like
some good stuff.
It was a rallying point for us and for our communities, let alone the sports community. There was people just in the world as a whole that are typically casual fans at best, that don't pay attention to that stuff, that rallied around the draft because it was something for us to all participate in and root for and to get behind. That's what the NFL season will bring. So regardless of what it looks like, is any of it going to be ideal? The absolute answer to that question is no, but it's okay. Just like everything else in your life is right now, Raider fan and human being out there listening to us, your life is different now, but it's okay. You're going to make the best of it with what you've been given and keep on marching on, because otherwise you're working against your spirit as a human and your spirit as an American. And that's not what we're made to do. We're not being defeated. We just have to keep on going on, evolving through it, and just make the best out of it with what we got. Otherwise you just crawl up in a ball and weep. And that's not an option.
Yeah. I possibly got some inside information to release about the NFL. Again, I am nobody to really release any information, but I have a friend who works in ad marketing for some big companies. Basically, what they do is they negotiate the buy-ins for ads for sports and the NFL, per company. And again, before COVID hit, the ads are technically sold months before the season happens. But after COVID, apparently the NFL went back to the ad well and has asked from certain advertisers double the amount of money to advertise during their games. Because of the pandemic, more people are going to stay at home. The ratings are being boosted, as we see on MLB, as on everything. And apparently the NFL is saying they're losing $400 million because of no fans. But apparently they sent a memo to advertisers and networks trying to renegotiate and add value to their team. And they are going to pay. The advertisers, at least. The networks, the contracts are done probably for the networks. But the advertisers, apparently they're paying double and triple. So the NFL, they're losing money, but they're also doubling money right now. So that's pretty interesting to think about. How they're saying that they're losing money, but they're actually making more money on the side. Do you have any issues with the procedures, the testing, no fans, and wearing a mask. Apparently they got a fake mask to put on the field now. I don't know. Any issues with any of this stuff?
No, I mean, there was a little bit of a flare up from the players where there was some uncertainty, and, you know, they kind of came out and were pretty vocal about not, not being comfortable with the current testing procedures. And there was a little bit of a backlash to the players being like, hey, look, if I can figure out how to do my job, why can't you figure out how to do yours? And while I think that that's fair, and but I also, you're talking about a performance-based, profession here, and you're talking about that, again, like I said at the top of the show, if you get sick for a week or two, like, what does that equate to in terms of an NFL season? That's not you go home and be quarantined and then go back to your job again. You know what I mean? Like, yes, it does, but what's the impact of that? So I think that there is a little bit more sensitivity around the players, and because they're limited, like, the time frame is highly limited versus, whoever works at whatever store, or you have whatever computer job, or you will go to whatever office, or whatever case may be, is that these guys are limited in time frame. And so because they're so consolidated through the course of their season, like, they can't miss anything. So they wanted to make sure that they were going to have every necessary precaution taken to prevent them from missing any time. And I thought that was fair. So in terms of what they've done, I mean, the players agreed on it. And if the NFLPA is willing to sign off on it, well, then I am. So, you know what I mean? Like, if they're good with it and the league's good with it, then let's go, man. Then let's go play football. Now, in terms of them not having fans, that kind of opens a little bit of the can of worms based on how my personal feelings are around a lot of this stuff. So I'm going to avoid commenting entirely on that, but I'll just say this. I get it. I get it if they don't have fans. I also get it if they do. I get it if they do, and they have a socially distanced 14,000 people in Allegiant Stadium. I get that as well. Here's something that I will give you that's unique and doesn't border on opinion, because this is a fact that I got from Will Compton, straight from his mouth. I was asking him, this isn't in the
straight out of Compton.
Yeah, that's right. Crazy MRFer named Compo. All right. So we were, like, as I mentioned, we spent the afternoon with the guy. We were having lunch with him, and I was asking him about what it would be like to play in front of no fans. And again, this isn't on the interview. This is your bonus content here. I asked him, like, what is it going to be like? And he said, well, he goes, it'll be weird. He said, it'll be weird because there will be some guys that won't go as hard. He's like, it's just some guys just go harder with the crowd behind them. Now, that said, he also
go harder with Viagra.
He said that easy. So he also said that there is also a notion that for defensively as players, for them, it will be easier because they won't have to compete with the crowd noise. But then I thought the most unique thing that he said out of all of that was that the calls and the signals that are going to come in from the sidelines, and even those by a lot of the players on the field, those are going to have to be switched up regularly, if not even multiple times a game. That what they're going to have to do is come up with like vanilla concepts for what their calls are on the field, and then make changes to them that would be confusing to the opposing team. Reason being is that if you're inside Allegiant Stadium and there's not a soul in there but the two teams playing, you could talk like this, like I'm talking to you right now at this vocal range, and you can hear me on the other sideline. So all of these signals and all of these calls and all these things are going to have to be highly modified. So there's a lot of strategy that's going to go on there's going to be a lot more of a chess match, essentially, I guess is what I'm saying. A lot more so than even what goes on now in the ultimate team sport. So really fascinating to think about it on those terms. And again, those are things that they're just going to have to adapt to. We got to adapt as fans. They got to adapt as teams. And that's a big one. That's a on the field performance thing that could be affected, because if you hone in on someone's calls, it's all over. Look what happened to the Raiders in the Super Bowl against the Buccaneers.
Damn straight. Should there be, you think they're going to put cardboard fans like MLB? Do you think they're going to pump in crowd noise to eliminate some of the factors that you just mentioned?
Well, I don't know. Maybe. But I got to say, I've watched a couple
I'm enjoying it. I'm starting to enjoy it that they pump in the crowd noise in MLB. And at first glance, when I saw the cardboard fans, it looked like a 1992 video game. But then after, with hearing the sounds and the players in MLB, my mind kind of got used to it, and it kind of dissipated, and it didn't bother me. So I don't know what you think, but that was my thought on watching MLB.
Yeah, I'm the opposite. I thought it was too distracting because it's so blatant when it's being done that I would rather just have it be quiet. Like, just give me the announcers, give me the, I'd rather hear the dugout or something. I mean, or whatever. Like, mic something else up to make the ambiance there. But you could clearly tell because it was like quiet during the pitch. And then after the ball would get put in play, it would like turn on. Like, they didn't even fade it in. Like, it just like came on out of nowhere. And so it was a little jarring. I thought, I was like, well, to me, I would rather just have it be quiet.
I watched 3 Dodger games and I got used to it. Like, it started to not bother me. Like, and I enjoyed it. Like, I don't know. It was a little weird. But hey, that's my brain trying to accept our new reality. All right. So should the championships whoever wins, should they have an asterisk next to their name if the world goes back to normal in coming years?
I don't think so. Again, because the playing field has been leveled. If they didn't put an asterisk on the strike shortened seasons, which was effectively a free for all when they had the scab players come in and play a majority of the season, was at 83 when that happened. So if you're not going to put an asterisk on a season like that, then no. I mean, because they're going to look, the results are going to be determined on the field. And now if there are games where you have, if we're the Raiders, and no, I don't want to say the Raiders because I don't want to speak anything over them. If you're the Buffalo Bills, okay, and Tre'Davious White and Josh Allen and I don't know, pick someone else. If they go out because of COVID, well, that's a different story, right? Like if the stupid, let me speak this over them. If Mecole Hardman, Patrick Mahomes, Chris Jones, Tyreek Hill, and Tyrann Mathieu all come down with COVID in week 16 when the Chiefs are trying to lock up the division. Now, should there be an asterisk on something like that? I don't know. That's a different discussion, I think. But in terms of like the championships themselves, aside from that, heck no, man. And let's hope all those. No, I don't want to hope anything on anybody. Let's just hope those guys aren't as good as they used to be. How about that?
It's just scary with shutdowns varying from state to state. We don't know if there will be delays. COVID players test positive. One team might have 20 during the season. One team might have 2, depending on that state. And there might be delays. There might be games that are postponed for a week or taken away. Like if there's a Monday night game and a lot of players test positive, maybe they just call that game a wash. So one team will end up with a record of 15-0. And then another team will be 16-0. You get it? They might lose a game here or there. It's just, again, I cannot answer. I don't know what's going to happen. But I think there should be an asterisk next to whoever is the Super Bowl champion, but not a bad asterisk. I think it should be a quality asterisk because they went through no OTAs, no mini camp. They went through the draft. They went through COVID-19, and they won the championship during all this turmoil, and they put the best product on the field. So to me, that would be an amazing asterisk to put to whoever is the champion, that they did all these bad things. So I don't know. That's just my view. I think they would be an amazing champion to put up with all of this stuff in the background and still win a championship. I wish I could speak correctly and get the words out of my mouth.
You're good, brother.
Yeah, my brain. I don't know how to speak properly. All right, Mark Davis. Let's move on from the concerns. Mark Davis had this to say in the media the past couple of days about fans not being in the stadium. He has an issue that they covered off the first 8 or 9 rows and they want to put advertising for more revenue. He was mad about that. Now, with his COVID concerns, he said, I won't go if the fans go. And the way it looks right now, this is about a week ago.
He won't go if the fans can't go.
Yeah, I won't go if the fans cannot go. And the way it looks right now is there won't be any fans at our games. Davis also makes it clear that the partial capacity arrangement won't work at the team's new stadium, meaning he doesn't think it'll work if they only put in 10,000 fans, like you stated. And he went on to say, it's all or none for me. Either all the fans are going to be there or none. I cannot tell one fan that they cannot go to the inaugural opening game in the stadium that they helped to build through licensing PSLs. I won't tell them that they can't go, but the rest of the guys can go. And, oh, by the way, don't worry about it because we'll all be able to advertise on the seats when the fans are not there. I hope I read that correctly. So basically, Mark Davis is one of the first owners to speak out in terms of the no fans, the fans, and his concerns, especially having a brand new stadium. So a lot of people gave him praise, and they said he was defending Raider Nation. So do you consider Mark Davis a champion for Raider Nation and NFL fans in general?
I do.
What do you think about this statement?
I do. I think it's great. And I agree with them. And, our buddy Mojo, who you mentioned earlier, season ticket holder, and he mentioned that the Raiders weren't in contact with him about anything. And, how do you determine who can go and who can't go? I mean, other than doing some sort of a lottery system and then providing people with like a future credit towards future games or whatever. But like this is the inaugural season of Allegiant Stadium. Like this is a big deal in a new city. Like this is a historical season for the now Las Vegas Raiders. And so, how do you determine who can and can't, like on some sort of privilege system? Like I'm with him. Like there's not a good way to do it. So instead of finding a way to try to do it, you just say, I'm not going to do it at all. And especially considering that, some people are literally going to be sold out for their seats for advertisers. So, I respect what he's saying here, man. And this is another step towards, all the evidence that Mark Davis has become, not even becoming, but has become a highly respected, well-placed owner in this league. And I called it out on our last show on the Murph Fan Cave Network, that there was a lot of people that gave this man a lot of crap from the very beginning and weren't even willing to give him a chance. And, all they did was complain about him. All they did was make fun of him for various, reasons, taking pot shots at him and whatnot. And, oh yeah, by the way, here we are now from 2011 to 2020. And we're talking about one of the most valuable franchises in the league with a brand new facility, for training, a brand new playing facility, all of the corporate sponsorships, all of the backing of the league, things that the Raiders, aside from their heyday in the early 80s, haven't had. We have not been this highly functional of an organization and with this many opportunities and with this many amenities around this team in many of our listeners' lifetimes. So anybody that took all those pot shots and talked all that, pardon my language, but talked all that about Mark Davis way back when, all of you ought to take all of that back and take a step back and realize what this guy has freaking done, because this guy is balled out for us as Raider fans. And that's frankly all I care about. Do what's best for us as a fan, do what's best for this organization, and give it the best opportunities for winning. And that's what this guy has done. I'm not saying you have to like every little thing that he does and be some blind loyalist, but what I am telling you is that you got to be able to appreciate what this dude has done. And when he makes statements like this, he's taking your back. He's fighting the league on your behalf, which is exactly what his dad would have done. Props, Mark.
Yeah, I agree with you, but if I could take the other side of this argument just for a faux debate, a lot of I've read a couple of things from Raider Nation or Oakland fans, and they're saying, why didn't he put this much, faith in public into getting a stadium in Oakland? Again, I don't know what happened behind the scenes, but they're like, man, he's all out front. He's being a champion for Vegas and Raider Nation right now during the turmoil, but he gave up in Oakland.
Yeah, because Oakland crapped on him. And it wasn't Oakland fan, it was Oakland the city. They continually took a dump on Mark Davis. Literally, when there was sewage running through the Oakland Coliseum, they continually crapped on the Raiders, and everybody else in the Bay Area continually crapped on the Raiders until finally he said, you know what? I'm out of here. You can have it. You know what I mean? Like, you're only going to beat your head against the wall so many times before you say, F it, I'm out of here, man. Like, so any of those fans, stifle yourself. And listen, it wasn't you anyways. It was the city of. If you want to blame somebody, blame your local politicians.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I can understand. I can understand why they're salty. I can understand it. because it looks like, Mark Davis is 100% out front. So that will rub some people the wrong way because they're already hating on him. So they're going to hate on him even more for whatever he does. But I agree with you. I love this statement, but when I first heard it, I was like, BS, bro. You're telling me you're the owner of a team at a new stadium and they're probably going to play football. You're not even going to go get some hot dogs, get some PF Chang's, and sit in the damn box and watch Henry Ruggs, who you drafted and paid a bunch of millions of dollars. I'm like, I don't know, man. I would probably hide out in the corner. I'm still going to go. But I like what he said publicly, in defense of Raider Nation and the season ticket holders. But I think he's going to go. I think he's going to, if there's no fans, I still think he's going to go to a game and watch a game or two somehow. And I think he should. So any other thoughts on that?
No, man. I've already got every Oakland fan riled up at me right now anyways. And hear me loud and clear on that. Look, it's not Oakland fan, man. Like I've done, look, I'm not an Oakland guy. I'm a San Jose guy, but I'm a Bay Area guy. And through the entirety of this process, you guys, the Oakland fans that were in the tailgate every week, I'm talking about the people that live in Oakland that had to deal with the same, politicians and bureaucrats that the Raiders have had to deal with. Those people are the ones that I'm talking to. Like, there's been no one been wronged more than you in this whole process of the Raiders leaving, because you're stuck in the middle, because you're the ones that are showing up every week. You're the ones that are at the tailgates. You're the ones that are supporting this team week in, week out. And unfortunately, local representation did not represent that fandom, did not represent that passion. And you got left in the cold on that. And I think, and that is completely unfair to those Oakland Raider fans. And so that my comments are not taking a shot at those people that were affected. It's 100% and has been consistent. You can roll back every damn episode that we've ever done of this show. It is 100%. My criticism has been levied at Libby Schaff and everybody else that was involved with completely, again, crapping on the Raiders throughout the entirety of the process. And that's what drove Mark Davis away. It had nothing to do with fandom.
Yeah, again, we can't reiterate the past. I'm proud they got a new stadium, but we haven't heard the LA Rams owner say that they're not attending games or stuff like that.
Because that stadium's not going to be done anyways. They're going to be playing in soccer stadiums.
Really? I thought it was going to be done this year for some reason in the back of my mind. Huh?
Yeah, it might be, but it's been through tons and tons of delays. And if that would have been the Raiders stadium, every freaking swinging stupid journalist on the planet would be taking shots at the Raiders going, oh, see, we told you. But no, in fact, we got this gorgeous Allegiant stadium that's going to be done completely on time, and no one's singing its praises except for people that are part of Vegas media.
Correct. So long story short, I love what Mark Davis said. Very, very interesting to me that he's coming out and saying that, but I think you should attend a game. If you have the chance to see that stadium, I think you should go. All right, let's move on. Cancel culture. I don't know what that means, but the Washington football team, the NFL, has apparently been taken over by cancel culture, whether you agree or not. It's very interesting. But on YouTube, you can no longer write the word Redskins or say it, even though I did. I hope I don't get hit by the algorithm. But it's very, very interesting. So what are your thoughts on, I guess, cancel culture in general and the name change for the Redskins? And do you think anything will ever affect the Raiders in that category?
No, I don't think it'll ever affect the Raiders. Well, let me take these things one at a time, because this is pretty complicated here. So let me do this. So,
trust me, I don't know how to write questions.
That's okay. So in terms of the name, it's long overdue that it be eliminated. So I don't think that's directly related to the cancel culture question. So I think that it's fair that the Redskins or former Redskins are changing their name. I think they should have for a very long time now, because I think that any reference to someone's skin tone, no matter how innocent or whatever it was intended, it's still the bottom line is that groups of people being referred to by their skin tone is not good. That's not the way that we need to roll as humanity. Let's stop doing that to one another.
I'm an NFL purist, bro. I'm going to miss just the thought and the idea of the Redskins because I'm an NFL purist. It's not for the fact of the racism. I get that. But like, you're like me, like we love NFL films. Like, are they going to get rid of those videos and stuff like that?
No,
like,
they're not going to get rid of videos, but it's look, don't be afraid of change, man. That's what this whole life is full of. And people that are afraid of change, you got a long road ahead of you, man, because look, that's the way that life works. It changes and you have to embrace it and you have to get used to it and you have to move along with it. And so the idea that this name is being changed is a good thing. So that's going to happen. Now, the name they chose is stupid as crap. Washington football team is dumb. And now I get it that so many people squatted on so many different names and like bought rights to them and whatever. So there was, all these different things so that they couldn't, they had no choices in really what they had to do. So they landed on this. But I think they should have found a way, regardless of how much it cost you, regardless of what rights you had to buy, regardless of whatever. And maybe these things are still in play and we just don't know it. Maybe this is just temporary for this year. But they should have been the Washington Red Tails. This would have been a perfect opportunity to honor the Tuskegee Airmen. And if you don't know who they are, who the Tuskegee Airmen were in World War II, an African-American Air Force, or not Air Force, before we had the Air Force, it was like the Army Air Corps or whatever. But anyways, there's this group of African-American pilots that helped turn the tide of the war. And so that would have been an excellent opportunity for us to honor them. There's a great movie that George Lucas did. His last big studio movie was called Red Tails, and it will tell you the story of the Tuskegee Airmen. And there are other Tuskegee Airmen movies as well. They're well documented throughout history. But so if you're not familiar, go figure it out. But that would have been great. You could have the planes, that would have been like great mascots. Like it would have been really cool, like imagery and stuff around it. And I thought a really cool way to honor those. And what better than to tie that to the team that plays in Washington, D.C. So I thought that would have been great. Now, so that said, I don't know if that's ever going to happen, and that's just me just throwing stuff out there, but I think all in all, this is a good thing for the NFL, and this is a good societal thing for us to do this. Now, let me hit on the other subject, and this I can keep kind of brief too. And look, I'm not afraid to dip into tough subjects, and I don't think that we should be, because when you dip into tough subjects, it allows for conversation, it allows for debate. And when you debate each other and you have conversations about things, then that's what leads to awareness. That's what leads to resolution. So I said that to say this. I'm not afraid to tackle any subject. I can't read the chat right now, but whatever you guys are saying in the chat, I will gladly engage with you in any of those things, whether it's racism, gender identity, whatever politics, it doesn't matter to me. I'll engage in all of it. But here's the bottom line. When it comes to this whole cancel culture thing, this whole idea that, somebody said something or did something that I don't like, so let's remove them from existence. That's not how we grow. We only grow by talking to one another. Now, I'm not talking about like egregious acts against children or, God forbid, the things like that someone like Bill Cosby did or things like. I get that. I understand the egregious nature of things, but innocuous comments and things that people may say or do that were intended as a joke, but did not come out the right way, or maybe even be rooted in some form of racism or whatnot. You have to have a conversation about it in order to bring awareness. And I'm going to give you a perfect example. Deshaun Jackson came out not long ago and made some very anti-Semitic comments. Julian Edelman didn't cancel him. Julian Edelman is a Jewish guy, not a practicing Jew, but a Jewish guy, reached out to him and they connected and they talked about things. And now they're going to share space on different platforms discussing relations between, African Americans and between people of the Jewish faith, all this. Like, that's
going to go to the museum too.
Yes,
go to the museum.
That's how we grow. You want to fix racism? That's how we fix it. We freaking talk to each other. So don't cancel anybody for saying something stupid. Reach out to them and try to bring some knowledge to their world. Try to encourage. And if at that point they just say, no, I know what I know and I think what I think and I was raised what I'm raised and you're this and you're that and you can't change my mind, well then F them. Then cancel them. But this whole notion of like somebody did something or you dredged up a tweet that somebody did 10 years ago that had some lyrics in it. Like, come on, man. Like that whole idea, we've got to move that past that as a society. We've got to talk to one another. And if after talking to somebody, you find out they're an asshole, well, then cancel them. But until then, we got to talk to one another.
Yeah. I mean, I totally agree. And I love the name, the Red Tails. I thought that was a fantastic name. I didn't even think about it. I haven't had the thought about it. I really don't care. I'm just an NFL purist, and I'm afraid that, like jerseys are going to be, like if you wear a Redskin jersey, people are going to call you out in the streets if they're a Redskin fan, or the NFL videos are going to be taken offline because of the name Redskins. If they're going to go back to CGI, get rid of the logos, that's the fear that I have because I'm an NFL purist, but I completely understand that it needed to go. But the one thing that relates to the Raiders, and I don't know why the NFL or the media is not talking about this more, because in terms of equality, the damn Raiders are the number one organization in the entire NFL that has truly done the most for minorities throughout the history. So why are we talking about the badness of the Redskins? Why aren't they talking about everything Al Davis and the Raiders did for that community? And like you said, true change does not happen out front by the NFL giving money to social justice and all this other stuff. They need to get minority owners. They need to get more minority coaches. They need to get all that other stuff into the actual NFL. And that brought us to our next segment. The Raiders are the best teams in terms of equality. And I think the NFL should make commercials about how the rest of the NFL should lead like the Raiders and Al Davis did in their era.
Absolutely.
So, but the NFL, in my opinion, is really tone deaf to all of this injustice, fairness, diversity, opportunity, as you can see on screen. I'm asking you the question, is the NFL tone deaf? They're throwing money, they're creating organizations, they're making videos, but yet there's still not many minority owners. And, the Rooney Rule is still being bypassed and all that other stuff. And the kneeling, now they want to put decals on helmets this season with names of, like injustice or people that, got injured or whatever. And then a black anthem. Like, to me, as a white person, I'm appalled by some of this stuff. Like, why are you going to separate anthems and you're making a racial divide by putting two different anthems? I mean, the NFL, they seem tone deaf to me. I mean, stickers on the helmet? I don't know, Murph. It pisses me off what the NFL is doing. They're not doing it right. The change comes from within the locker room, within the NFL, within the teams, within the owners. It doesn't come from, new national anthems, decals on helmets. I don't know. I'm pissed off. But what is your thoughts on the NFL and how they're trying to inspire change? Do you believe they're tone deaf?
No, I think they're trying to do the right thing. And I think that you have to honor, when you look at the makeup of an NFL roster, it's populated by black men. There's no getting around that. And we shouldn't want to get around that. And so you have to honor what's going on in these men's lives and what their realities are. And their realities are different than yours and mine. And it doesn't matter that many of them are multimillionaires and that many of them have had, quote, a privileged life in terms of, opportunity and things like that. They're still having to encounter things that you and I don't have to encounter. And so I get it that what the NFL is trying to do and to honor that play. And I think that that's a respectable notion. Now, what I also think, there's not like a great way to go about this that you're not going to piss somebody off. And here's what the danger of living in this whole Twitterverse and this whole, woke society that we're a lot of folks are trying to promote, is that you're never going to make everybody happy. Like, someone is going to get pissed off along the way. So what now the NFL is doing, along with a lot of these other businesses, is that they're choosing when and where they're going to piss people off based on their bottom lines. And that's where this stuff gets yucky to me. And that's where this whole idea of even the continuing of the kneeling and whatnot, it's becoming a brand. And that I'm not a fan of. Like, I get the initial message behind it. I get and even supported the original reasons for it, to be able to, demonstrate in protest, in peaceful protest about injustices of the world. I get it, man. But now that's not what this is. And this is becoming now people's brands, and people are now making money off of it. And now they're promoting these different foundations and organizations and all this stuff. And it spins up into this whole corporate America thing. And it's ridiculous. And for, like Nike is the most egregious of them. And look, and I'm not the guy that's going to be like, I'm never going to buy Nike shoes or what. Like, I rock Nike still. Like, I'm not talking about like that. But when you look at what they're doing, if you think that this is about, the plight of humanity or a certain group of people or race of people, even, there could be no more hypocrisy evident other than in a company like Nike. When you look at what their history has been in their manufacturing facilities and what they don't care about people, they don't care about humanity. It's evident in the NBA. Like, they want to promote all these different, initiatives, but yet they make more money out of China and the suppression of people in that communist regime than any other country. And it's like it's now become a joke. And I think that's a shame, because the initial reasons for all this stuff were valid and needed to be brought to the forefront. And then so I don't like that. I don't like the branding of it. I don't like the corporations taking over. And then this is the last thing that I'll hit you with, is that we can't be blind to this stuff. This is not me saying, well, this doesn't need to be there. Look, protest has existed in sports literally going back to the beginning of time, beginning to the beginning of sports, back to the earliest forms of Olympics and whatever. There's been protests. Like, I get all that. And I'm not saying that it's misplaced, but what I am saying is this, though: when it starts overtaking the sport, when it becomes such a prominent message or existence within the sport, you're going to really start looking for ways to divide people. And that's sad, because I used to always describe football as this to people that weren't as much of a fan as I was. There has never been a place in my life other than a football huddle and church where you had groups of men holding hands in union with one another, focused on a common goal. And you could even translate that up to the fans in the stands. When you look at what was the Oakland Coliseum, it didn't matter what your skin color was. It didn't matter what political party you were aligned with. It didn't matter, how much money you made. It didn't matter who you were married to. None of that stuff mattered. When the Raiders scored a touchdown and I turned around and high-fived you, all that mattered was that you were wearing silver and black too, because politics and all this other stuff does not exist in that forum. And sports, once upon a time, used to be a great unifier for us. And so I think that we could all use to get back to a little bit of that in this country. We could use to get back to a little bit of the great unifier, the things that break down all the barriers and the things that bring us together, not find reasons to split us apart. So wherever all this stuff goes, I don't know, man. And I far from have the answers. And I look forward to hearing what everybody in the chat has to say. And I look forward to engaging with you at a future time. And if you want to engage with us, be on our show or send me an email or a tweet. You got my Twitter handles right there. I would love to engage on this stuff, because that's how we can find ways through this and find ways to heal our communities, heal our society, and then really and be able to enjoy, games together as NFL fans. And most importantly here as Raider Nation, as one big freaking family.
Yeah. I just feel like, like the NFL has made so many mistakes, even from the Colin Kaepernick days of, when it first started. And then, when a problem arises, I just feel like they throw money at it. They think that's a solution, and it's really not. Like, money does not heal everything. Yes, it helps people, but it doesn't heal everything. And, I think they should heal from within instead of publicly, and then decals on helmets, of, injustice, people's names, corporations like Black Lives Matter, whatever, like, the NBA did it, and the players, they're like, what? It doesn't make sense. Like, I'm not going to put Trayvon Martin's name on my jersey when I'm LeBron James. Like, even though I respect and I want to, promote the injustice, it just doesn't make sense. It's like, it's like the NFL gives them little things. Oh, you guys can now, you couldn't kneel before, but you can kneel now, right? But we're also going to give you an anthem, because you guys are separate. You want to kneel during the American anthem. We're going to give you the black anthem.
Well,
we're going to give you decals on helmets.
How do you determine? See, and this is the slippery slope, and this is why I don't think any of this is going to happen.
Yeah.
Because how do you determine?
The Black Anthem?
Well, not that, but I'm talking about the decals on the helmet. So, like, I get like, okay, you have to like salute the service month, right? And they have the opportunity to put, excuse me, and they have the opportunity to put decals on the helmets for whatever branch of the service they choose. You have the
or charities sometimes.
Well, hold on, I'm getting to that. You have the cancer awareness month, right? And so you can put the different colored ribbons on your helmet for whatever form of cancer that you want to rally, like whether it's in youth or breast cancer or whatever, right? So I get those notions. Now, if there's like a certain time frame where you say this is, I hate to even, I see this is why this stuff is ugly, because here I am, some middle-aged white dude going like, well, if it's Injustice month, then you can put whatever branded injustice you want on your helmet. See how silly that sounds? So like, how do you determine and tell players like what is worthy and what is not worthy to put on your helmet? Because what is value to, and what is in terms of awareness to one is not to the other. So it's just crazy, man. And so I don't think this stuff is a really good idea. And I'm with you. Handle it inside. Pastors will tell you all the time, don't rally against the political party. Don't rally against the system. Handle your house. Handle your house. Take care of your house. You know what? Because people learn racism from their parents. You're raised as that. Let's take care of our own damn houses, and then all of this stuff changes going out forward. Putting a damn decal on someone's helmet isn't going to fix racism. How you fix racism is in the freaking house. So call it out when you see it in your neighbor or your family member or whatever else. Let's handle our business first, white people, and then maybe we can grow past this stuff and we don't have to worry about putting damn stickers on helmets. I mean, seriously, it's crazy. Whew, I'm soapboxing tonight.
It's just tone deaf to me. I mean, they're a corporation. They had wardrobe rules for many years, even a couple years back, and now all of a sudden they're, let's give them something. Let's make them happy. They can wear decals little by little. Maybe they'll let them put on shoes with injustice. It's just make a rule and stick by it. But then, like you said, fix racism in-house, bring on more minority coaches, make programs to get coaches into the NFL system. Do that. That's how you solve some of these issues. Let's move on, because it's a very tough thing to talk about. So let's talk about some positivity. I mean, how amazing does the stadium look nowadays? How proud are you of it? The training facility that we're seeing on screen, it's apparently going to be 100% cashless. It's now the second stadium in the NFL that's cashless. The Atlanta Stadium has no cash. You got to get cards and everything. But just how proud are you of our stadium? Like, how good does it look and the facility for our Raiders?
Oh, I couldn't be more proud, man. I've said this, I feel like a lot lately here, but I've been going to the Oakland Coliseum since before I was born. My mom was pregnant with me when she went to the 1972 World Series, and I've been going back there ever since with my different family members and friends to A's games and Raiders games, and I've seen the Rolling Stones there. I've seen monster truck rallies there. I've seen motocross. I've been to the Oakland Coliseum a lot. I've been to the arena a lot and went and saw a lot of Warriors games and car shows and the Oakland Roadster shows. And I spent a lot of time around that place, and as much as I loved it, it was a dump, man. Like it eventually became Mordor, and we walked into it every Sunday proudly, but it was not a good facility anymore. You know what? I'm not going to miss pissing in a trough underneath 3 feet of weed smoke in the bathroom. Like, I'm just not going to miss that kind of stuff. I'm not going to miss parking, 8 miles away. I will miss the tailgates. I'll miss the people. I'll miss those parts of it because that's what made up the facility was Raider Nation. But in terms of the amenities and whatnot, no, it was not great. Now there is something that was very special about going to a night game, that black sky, everybody in the crowd wearing black, the bright green field, it was pretty, man, but it wasn't this kind of pretty, man. What we're seeing here now, these pictures of this facility, I couldn't be prouder. And it's that whole embrace change thing. I'm ready for something new. I went to the Coliseum for 47 years. 47 years. Okay, I'm ready to go see somewhere else. I'm ready to go sit in a new stadium and watch the Raiders play, and they were playing in the Oakland Coliseum a lot longer than my 47-year-old self, right? So I think it's a great thing. I think it's an amazing accomplishment. It's absolutely beautiful. And this whole notion that now we have a facility and a series of facilities that are only rivaled by maybe the Star in Dallas, I think is pretty freaking proud, or pretty cool. And we should be pretty freaking proud, Raider Nation.
Yeah, that's why I don't agree with Mark Davis's statement saying he's not going to go to a game. Because I'm like, I don't care if there's no fans. I'm going to that stadium. I'm going to sit in there alone like a king. I'm going to be like, what's up? Give me some hot dogs and some peanuts and Cracker Jacks. I don't care if we beat the Kansas City Chiefs back because it's root for the Vegas Raiders. If they don't win, it's a referee shame. Because it's 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out, whatever. But I love it. I'm very proud of it. And I'm so damn sad. That's all I'm going to say. So if there are a few fans allowed this year, whether it be 5,000, 10,000, whatever the case is, those people, consider yourself very, very lucky, very, very blessed to experience this stadium. However it pans out.
I'll be there, Raider Nation. I may not go to the game, but I'm going to be in Vegas for the opening week. Cody and I are going to do a live pregame show. Actually, it's Cody's show. I'm going to join him on it at the Stage Door Casino right there on the Strip in Vegas. And so even though we probably won't get a chance to go to the game, I'm going to be watching that sucker from the Vegas or from the link or from the Stage Door or from the link or one of those places right down there. So if you're in Vegas, hit your boy Murf up.
Oh my God. Fantastic time. All right. It's time to move on. And like I said, it's cashless. Do you have any, like that freaked me out when I found out it was cashless. Like, I don't know. Did you have any issues with that? That was interesting to me.
Straight cashless, homie.
Straight cashless, homie, like you said. All right. We didn't review the draft because we haven't had a show due to my fault, but give me a quick draft review. And about the players picked up and where you thought their fill need or grade them, whatever, just give me a quick draft review because we didn't do one on this show.
All right, I'm going to give you a one-liner on every guy here. All right, so Henry Ruggs is speed kills. He is Cliff Branch 2.0. Damon Arnett, potentially physical man-to-man corner, way underrated in terms of his draft position. Lynn Bowden Jr., he is a Swiss Army knife. He's going to bring the kind of versatility that we haven't seen since Marcel Reese, although he's a different body type, different position, but a lot of versatility from Lynn Bowden Jr., and it's Bowden, not Bowden. Brian Edwards is going to be the next version of Michael Crabtree in terms of his vice grips for hands. Derek Carr misses Crabtree more than he misses Amari Cooper. He needs that guy that can high point a ball in the back of the end zone. Brian Edwards is that guy, and he's going to make a big impact on this offense. Tanner Muse, almost another Swiss Army knife, but on the defensive side of the ball, is going to come in at linebacker, and I think going to bring a lot of spirit, we'll say, to that secondary. John Simpson, big guard from Clemson, going to hold it down at the guard spot. Man, we're gonna start aging out pretty quick on the interior of our line, and I think that John Simpson is going to bring a nice presence there and has the ability to develop over a couple of years. And maybe my favorite pick, aside from Brian Edwards, is Amick Robertson. Came out of a small school, Louisiana Tech, to plays in the same conference as my school, which is MTSU. And Amick Robertson can bring it, man. My only concern about him is that he's a little bit undersized, and so I'm hoping he's not going to go the way of like a Bob Sanders, the old safety for the Colts, if you remember him, a dude that absolutely flew around the ball and packed a punch when he arrived with purpose at the ball carrier. But unfortunately, with that smaller frame, wasn't able to stand up to the rigors of the NFL. With today's, conditioning and whatnot, I'm just, again, that's not me speaking that over him, but that's is definitely a concern that came up, and that's why he lasted to the 4th round. But in terms of intensity and just freaking bringing it, man, he is going to bring a lot to our secondary, and cannot wait to watch this crop of young men join the Raiders this season.
Yeah, again, I didn't know what they were doing during the draft while I was watching it. I was freaking out on every pick, but that's what Mikey Raider does. But I understood it after looking at it at the end of the draft, and I kind of understood what they did, and where they did it. And, these men are growing on me. But I have a lot of concerns because of the COVID-19 pandemic for these players. last year's draft class, almost every draft pick hit. And can they repeat that this year? It's hard to do it once, let alone 2 times. But, they're looking good. But Henry Ruggs and these other players, they have not been in OTAs or anything, and they have to come up to speed quickly. And they're in Las Vegas, Sin City. They're young players. Now they got money. I have a lot of concerns for, this draft class in terms of they might not be up to speed early. But down the final 4 or 5 games last year, our rookies were playing that much better, in the last 4 or 5 games of last year. Mad Max Crosby and everybody else. So I think Henry Ruggs, Damon Arnett, again, they're going to be the leaders at their respective position for what they do. But I think they're going to struggle early on and often. And I unfortunately think we're going to lose a lot of games early. But this draft class can be a home run when it's all said and done by the end of the season with all these players and the expectations that they have. This might be the best draft class for the Raiders since 2014, even past last year when it's all said and done. With these players, their abilities and their talents. Do you see every player making the team, even the late round draft pick?
Absolutely, because your latest round picks were 4th rounders. So, yes, there's no 7th rounders, no 6th round. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, every single one of these guys is going to make the Raiders. All
right, we're now into the Vegas Raiders 2020 training camp preview, even though we did the draft. So, the new facility, we got the Raiders to train in. Hopefully they can get on the field. They don't have to wear these keychains that socially distance themselves from all the equipment. I do not know. The facility looks fantastic. I am very, very excited. And it's like a new coat of paint. Like you feel good in a fresh room with a new coat of paint. Ain't that right?
That's exactly right, Mikey.
That's right. 818 Raider chimed in with a huge donation. So thank you, 818 Raiders. He's chiming in with Raiders. I love you, 818 Raider. You've always supported all of our channels, and we thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, so let's get into the position breakdown. Let's start with cornerbacks. Do you have any
Oh, we lost you again, Mikey.
Why are we losing me?
There we go. Got you now.
Do you have any issues with certain players making the team? Who do you think will be the studs at the cornerback position and whatnot?
Well, I think it's interesting that we might have a year 1 and a year 2 guy starting at corner between Mullen and Arnett. Of course, without the luxury of the preseason and like you mentioned, all the OTAs and whatnot, I think it's going to slow the learning curve of someone like Damon Arnett. But now all of a sudden we've got Prince Amukamara that can step in. It can definitely be a day 1 starter for the team. So I'm encouraged, man. I think that for the first time in a hot minute, we've got some depth there. And, while LaMarcus Joyner is listed there as a corner, he's going to be more of a slot guy. He's not going to be one that's going to line up and cover, wide receiver 1 or 2, but that's okay. Like we don't need him to. We need him. The Raiders brought him in to be a slot corner. So let's let him be a slot corner because most of the teams are going 3 or 4 wide anyways nowadays. So I think it's great. And I'm encouraged by what we have at corner. Could we have a little bit more depth still? Yeah, maybe. And so then we're going to need somebody like Isaiah Johnson at a last year's draft or even an Evan Lawson to kind of step up and fill it out and round it out for us. But as far as like our immediate depth goes, I'm encouraged, man. I think it looks pretty good.
So they have listed Prince Amukamara as the starter and Trayvon Mullen. Do you think Prince Amukamara is the starter alongside Trayvon Mullen in that position battle at cornerback? Or do you think it's Arnett works his way to the top, or the free agents like Isaiah Johnson or LaMarcus Joyner, whatever?
Yeah, I guess maybe you didn't hear me on that. Yeah, that's exactly what I just said, that Arnett was going to work his way up because of the restrictions based on the without no OTAs, no preseason.
Okay, yeah, sorry, forgive me. I guess I must not have heard you correctly. This show is just going out without no hitches, ain't it?
Well, hey man, it's the first of our season here, so apparently we've got some gremlins to work out.
All right. Is there a position battle at tight end, or there's not really a position battle, but what are your thoughts on the tight end position?
I love it, man. I love this tight end room. This is killer, and Witten is still going to have a little bit in the tank in terms of a red zone target, but Will Compton confirmed it, man, when we had him here. Again, this wasn't anything that was on the air. This was just in conversation. He's absolutely a leadership hire. Like, this is a guy that you're talking about, young men in there, Foster Moreau and Darren Waller, that they're going to need guidance from the old dog. And even more so than just in the tight end room, though, one of the things that I think that has been a challenge for Derek Carr has been leadership, and not in terms of like his ability to lead, because I think he's a good man. He's a good example. If anything about Derek Carr, we've always praised him for, has been his off the field in his locker room presence. But I do think there is a case to be made for, with that heavy layer of responsibility, it could potentially keep him from other things like worrying about just being a quarterback. Like, just go out there and be the best player you possibly could be. So when you have a guy like Witten in the building who's able to absorb some of that responsibility and to be able to be that leader in the clubhouse, if something goes wrong, Witten can be the guy to handle business, not necessarily Derek Carr. What two better guys than to have Rodney Hudson and Jason Witten taking over, as obviously Huddy's already a captain, but to have Hudson and Witten be the captains of this offense and be the guys that can really run the room, and Derek doesn't have to worry about it. Like, I think that's a perfect scenario, and I think that's what the Raiders were doing when they brought in Jason Witten. Does
Derek Carrier make the team?
Probably. I mean, yeah, if they're going to carry four, and most teams do, and absolutely, I think that he does.
All right, let's move on to a linebacker. This is a big position of need, and there's going to be a lot of battles at the linebacker position, for supremacy, if you want to call it that. Who do you see in the battle at linebacker?
Well, I'm for the boys, so I'm hoping that the Raiders re-sign number 51, Will Compton, and he comes in there and leads the crew. But yeah, that's me being silly. But seriously, though, I really do hope the Raiders re-sign Comp and bring him in for all the exact same reasons that I just gave you about Jason Witten. All those things apply to Will Compton as well. Will Compton is an absolute leader. He's a vet. He's a cagey dude. He gets it. He knows, he understands work ethic. Look at when Tyre Whitehead struggled last year, when they pulled the green dot from him, who got it? It was Will Compton. Who was captaining our defense at the end of the year? Will Compton. And when you take his stats in the 9 games that he played as a Raider, and if you were to extrapolate that out over a 16-game season, guess who the leading tackler would have been for the Oakland Raiders last year? Will Compton. So the dude, man, he can play. He's still got a lot in the tank. He's only 30 years old. So I definitely hope that they bring him back. Now, granted, he's not signed now. And so there's not a huge case to be made for him, but I think that there's room for it once these things shake out, because Littleton's the man. Littleton, when you look at the way that he played, just go back and watch the Super Bowl against the Patriots and look at the plays that Corey Littleton was making in that game, deflecting passes, forcing fumbles. He intercepted Tom Brady. How many people have intercepted Tom Brady in a Super Bowl before? I don't even know that answer off the top of my head either, but I know it ain't many, but I know Corey Littleton's one of them. Like, this guy's legit, man. So he's definitely going to be our day one starter. He's going to be the field general. He's going to be the guy calling the shots. And then after that, you fill it out with Kwiatkowski and Nick Morrow and Markel Lee and whatnot. But I think that the depth, again, runs out real quick once you get past Kwiatkowski and maybe even a Tanner Muse. And that's where Compton, man, I'm telling you, I would not be shocked if Will Compton got extended an offer and ended up back in Oakland again this upcoming season. And especially considering the idea that they're on a shortened time frame here. So the learning curve needs to be shortened. Well, what better way to shorten the learning curve than to bring in the guy that was the captain of the defense last year? Like, do that. So I think that's ultimately where it's going to go. We'll see.
Look, I mean, that is well said. And depending on COVID, players testing positive, if they're quarantined for a few weeks or games, Will Compton knows the system a little bit. He's available. So that is definitely a possibility. But what position would he take over? I think Nick Kwiatkowski is going to take over the will linebacker, Corey Littleton, again, barring COVID stuff. Middle linebacker is Corey Littleton. And the only spot available might be strong side linebacker for Will if he's brought on. But I believe the linebackers are set for now. But you're right.
And they don't follow a strict like 4-3 setup here where we're talking about, a weak strong and a middle linebacker. I mean, linebacking cores nowadays, much like safeties, it's hybrids, right? The days of like, oh, you're a strong and you're a free safety. Those days are over. Like this whole, so you have your linebacking core and they have different assignments within them. And, you need to be 3 or 4 deep. And right now I see that we're about 2 deep. I mean, and I don't even like on this list in particular, they got Nick Morrow listed in there. I think Markel Lee is above him on that, above Nick Morrow. I don't think that the Raiders are entirely sold on Nicholas Morrow. And I would imagine if anybody is going to be displaced, it will be him. And then probably not Kyle Wilbur because of his special teams contributions. But, that's another thing that Compton can contribute on is special teams. So anyways, I think that's where it's going to go. And they're not going to be necessarily by label.
Homer.
Hey, I'm for the boys, man. And you know what I mean? And hey, and look, and if I didn't have this green screen set up here behind me, he also autographed a game jersey for me that I've got now hanging up and featured here in the fan cave. Yeah, good dude. So call me a homer if you want, but I really am. That's an objective opinion. That's aside from, look, I mean, Will Compton was a great dude and a lot of fun to hang out with, but I'm not telling you that because I think he's cool. I'm telling you that because I think
there is a possibility, depending on COVID and needing players.
That's what I'm saying, man. It makes
that
sense.
He might be the best available.
Yeah, I wouldn't say this if I didn't really believe it, and that's the truth, man. It's the absolute truth.
All right, let's move on to running back. There is a battle for running back, whether it be the third string or the backup running back to Josh Jacobs. Again, they might not go by that formula, but do you see Devontae Booker working out and surpassing Jalen Richard for maybe the second string or the third string back?
I don't think so. I think when you're talking about the contract that Richard got and the production that he's had in this offense and the familiarity and everything, I don't think he gets displaced as the second guy there. And I love Lynn Bowden being listed as a running back. I think he's going to be your emergency third quarterback. And I think that we're going to see a lot of, I hate to call it gimmicky, but I will just call it creative offensive sets with these guys. And, I mentioned that he's kind of like the smaller version, a little bit different skill set than a Marcel Reese, but that versatility is there and he'll be able to move all over the field. And I just love this idea that, and maybe because of the restrictions in practice and OTAs and preseason, maybe we won't see it, but I think that there's a very distinct possibility. This is just Murph theory. I don't know a damn thing other than being a fan, but how exciting would it be to see Mariota, Carr, and Lynn Bowden, all three in the backfield at the same time? And you know what I mean? And we've seen Marcus Mariota run out and run routes and catch passes and catch touchdown passes. And like the Titans used him in all kinds of gimmicky ways. And Gruden is certainly not above that. And I think that there's a lot of fun that you can have with the players that are going to be in the backfield. And Lynn Bowden fits into that big time. So even though he might be quote third on the depth chart, I think you're going to see him moving around quite a bit. Slot receiver, you know what I mean? Can you imagine you put him back there at running back and then you motion him out into the slot? Like, I mean, this guy had 1,000 yards catching at Kentucky, like wide receiver yards. Like, dude's freaking a beast, man. I can't wait. There's gonna be a lot of fun going on in this offense.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you. Like, after the signing of Devontae Booker, I already love the running back room. But after the signing of Devontae Booker and the draft of Lynn Bowden with his versatility, I 1,000% love this running back room. I mean, Josh Jacobs can do everything. We know he can. Jalen Richard has become a blocker, a do-it-all type of running back, and he's just playing great. That's why he was deserving of the contract. Lynn Bowden, like you said, he can be a weapon, like a Cordell. What was the guy, Cordell Stewart from back in the days?
Slash, yeah.
Lynn Bowden could be the Cam Newton running back in the backfield, the Josh Allen running back, quarterback. Oh, my God. And Devontae Booker, in the old age of John Gruden, is that power back that can get us 1 or 2 yards on 3rd and 1 and maybe 4th and 1 on a goal line. You have that power back in Devontae Booker. He didn't pan out in Denver, but we got one of the best offensive lines. And we got a fullback that can block in Alec Ingold. So I am thrilled with the Devontae Booker signing.
Absolutely. And you know, too, some about Lynn Bowden, too. I don't know why, for some reason, people think of him as a small guy. Like, he's not. He's 5'11". Like, he's not undersized at all. He's thin, like a wide receiver would be, but he's not short. So, like, that whole idea that, like, oh, he could only even be relegated to a slot receiver, which, like, I just assigned him to, he could split all the way out. Like, he could be all over the damn place. Like, this guy's going to be exciting as heck, man. I can't wait.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on to the safeties. Jonathan Abram is a safety. He only played one game last year. He's a talker, but he has all the potential to be a Jamal Adams type from my perspective in a couple of years. And I'm really looking forward to him in his rookie season. That's right. I call this Jonathan Abrams' rookie season. But in the safety room, is there a battle going on between Jeff Heath or anybody else in the safety room?
I definitely think Jeff Heath is in the mix, man. Jeff Heath is a baller. That's a guy that can play the ball pretty dang well. And when you look at some of his highlight reel and you look at his interceptions and whatnot, like he can be a little bit of a hawk. And so I look at, you know, we got a lot of depth, man, now at safety, and that doesn't even count LaMarcus Joyner, who can fit in over there. Again, the Raiders brought him on to be a slot corner, but he can, if we need him to be, go in there and play safety. Eric Harris can be a playmaker, as we know. Tanner Muse is listed as a safety here. I think he's more the hybrid guy. I think he's more going to play down low near the line of scrimmage and probably cover tight ends, maybe things like that. I don't know if he's going to be covering Travis Kelce, but maybe, I don't know, you know, because that's a pretty big body to put up against somebody like LaMarcus Joyner. So instead, you let you have Muse play down there close and get physical with that guy. You know what I mean? Or Hunter Henry or any of the other tight ends that we got to play this season. So, but when you look at the overall depth though of our safety room, dude, it looks good, and I'm fired up for Jonathan Abram. He might be my favorite of all the rookie class, or not, I call him rookie class, but all of the young players over the past couple of years, of all the Mayock players, like Abram might be my favorite. And like you said, he only played one game, but this dude just has Raider written all over him. He's got the intensity. He's got the passion. I love it that he's kind of goofy. Did you see the picture of him and Amick Robertson working out? It's so funny. Amick Robertson standing there and he's got this like intensity about him. He's got this look on his face. Like he's ready to beat the crap out of the person taking the picture. And then Jonathan Abrams going, like, just got the biggest cheesy, you know, crap eating grin on his face. I love it, man. I love his dynamic, and you know, he reminds me of a Raider. Like, he's kind of silly, you know, kind of goofy, like, you know, very gregarious and all that. But when it comes to game day, at least on that one game we saw him play, he freaking brought it, dude. Like, that didn't translate to any kind of, like, he's like a Villapiano, right? Villapiano's like silly and like, you know, big storyteller and funny and goofy and all these things. But when he got on the field, he was taking your freaking head off, literally. Like, to that idea that like Abram could be that kind of a guy that's like, you know, a lot of personality, but yet when it's game time, just freaking hammers you. Like, I love that, man. I love it. That's like the epitome of a Raider to me.
Again, just look at our safety room on the chart that's above. I mean, Jonathan Abram, let's pencil him as a starter, barring any setbacks or injuries. Demarius Randall is a quality player. Jeff Heath is a quality player. Eric Harris is a quality player. So our top four safeties can play at all positions. And they would be, any one of those four players would be a starter on most NFL teams. Then you got Tanner Muse, who was a starter, you know, for his respective team. Then you got the undrafted free agent that's getting a ton of praise in Javen White. Then you got Dalen Levitt, who played pretty decent to continue to be on this team. And our safety room is 1,000% much more improved than in previous seasons. Let's just hope Paul Gunther can figure out how to use these damn players correctly, because I'm getting pissed off with that.
Let's go.
And now
PG.
let's move on to the battle wide receiver. Do you think there's a battle for certain positions at wide receiver, or is it all set in stone?
I think it's completely set in stone. I think that when you look at the diversity that we have at wide receiver, we have one of the more unique depth charts that we've ever seen, and I mean ever. And now, whether the expectation of the play shows up or not, I'm not comparing these guys to past great wide receiver corps. I'm not comparing these guys to Cliff Branch and Fred Biletnikoff and whatnot, right? I'm not going down that route. But what I am telling you is that you got Henry Ruggs the third, who is an absolute blazer, who can, run a 9 route and outrun somebody, can split safeties on a freaking, on a slant, can come across on a drag route, can do all the things that I hate to even use the word Tyreek Hill, but you get what I'm saying. That's why I prefer to say Cliff Branch 2.0. When you look at that kind of explosiveness to his game, it's completely unique and different than what Hunter Renfrow does. Hunter Renfrow is your Doug Baldwin, your, Julian Edelman, your slot receiver, your guy that's going to get open, down low, possess the ball, get to the ground for a first down. Like, that's your guy there, although he can run. And we've seen him in the San Diego game, or whatever, the stupid Chargers game this year, do that kind of that Ruggs thing where he split safeties, but for the play in, play out, much different. And then we got the young man, Brian Edwards, big body, vice grips for hands, high points to football, can get open, will out muscle you to the football, will bully you to the football. That's a completely different skill set. Then you got Williams, who is kind of a hybrid player. He can kind of do a multitude of things, right? Like, he's pretty fast. He's got some big hops to him. He's got pretty decent hands when he's not hurt, right? Like, he's got a lot of versatility to him. So I think that you're looking, and then, then the rest of the players kind of fill out. Rico Gafford's like the third fastest player in the league and whatnot. But Zay Jones is a little bit of a hybrid player as well. But those main guys that I just named, Tyrell Williams, Henry Ruggs, Hunter Renfrow, and Brian Edwards, I think those are your 4 guys that you're going to see featured in this offense. And all of them do distinctly different things, which is perfect, because what do you have to do to beat teams week in, week out? You got to attack what they're weak at. And if you don't have versatility offensively or defensively, for that matter, you can't exploit matchups. So, and the Raiders are going to be able to exploit matchups. If they got a cornerback that's weak against whatever, then that's the guy you're going to line up there over there on that side, on that player, play in, play out. If you've got a linebacker that's weak in coverage, or you've got a whatever, you're going to be able to exploit these things because you can. We haven't been able to do that before. We ran out of talent for many, many years because we didn't have depth. We didn't have diversity. Now we do, or versatility, whatever the hell you want to call it. We got it.
Yeah, I mean, you said it right. We have depth at the running back position, and I love our wide receiver room. I mean, let's pencil in the top 3 guys, Tyrell Williams, Henry Ruggs, and Hunter Renfrow. But I truly enjoy the addition of Brian Edwards as a big red zone threat, a tall guy in a Julio Jones type fashion that could possibly fight for the ball in key moments and situations.
Yep.
Zay Jones in a second year in the system, much is to be desired of Zay Jones. We didn't see that much from him last year in a learning curve, but he's been on the field with Carr, and let's hope he can put it together. But I don't have that much faith in Zay Jones this year. He's on the bubble in my aspect or opinion. Nelson Aguilar, a lot of people do not like this signing. He drops balls, whatever they want to say. But he's a veteran. He's played on championship Eagle teams, and he's in a 1-year deal, and he wants a free agent contract to at least get some money for the future. So if he balls out this year in this system, he's going to get a free agent contract with another team for multiple millions of dollars that he thinks he deserves. And he is a good player. I see a lot from Nelson Aguilar this year. And everybody else, again, it's a crapshoot. Rico Gafford, DeMornay Pierce-Chanel, Marcel Aitman coming back to this team. And I don't know what's going to happen. But I think it's funny that they don't have Lynn Bowden on there as a wide receiver because they put him in the running back position. But you could also have, like you spoke about, Murph, you could have Lynn Bowden creep in there in the slot and become a wide receiver or whatever, and it's going to be a fantastic room. We got a fantastic wide receiver room, and I freaking love it. Defensive line, are there any battles on defense that you think on defensive end and on defensive tackle?
No, I don't think we're going to, quote, have any battles, because I think we're going to see a rotation of depth here. And I think we're going to see a lot of guys moving up and down the line. We don't even know if all the Jadeveon Clowney rumors are if there's any.
Raiders ain't got no money, man, right now. I mean,
well, they just announced they re-announced the salary cap, and we've got like $9 million or whatever. And so, like Cody said, the salary cap money doesn't sack the quarterback. So if you can bring him in on a deal, that then you still remain under the cap, then I'm with it. But point being though is that there's aside from with a move like that, these guys are going to be moving around all over the place. You're going to see a lot of matchups and a lot of attempts to exploit weaknesses on the offensive line and with tight ends and whatnot by moving these guys all around. I don't know if you've seen Malik Collins move. I don't know if you've seen any of his workout videos or any of that stuff. This dude can boogie for a 300-pound man. That's
a great free agent signing.
It's a great free agent signing. And so when you look at him and you look at what the versatility that he brings, and, I know, like, I've rooted for Arden Key for a long time. I don't know if he's ever going to close that last, step and a half that he needs to be able to get to the quarterback, but he's around the ball a lot. He just doesn't ever close it out. Maybe this is the year that he starts to. I don't know. But point being, though, is that when you look at Cleveland Farrell, Malik Collins, Jonathan Hankins, Max Crosby, Carl Nassib, Mo Hurst, even PJ Hall, like all these guys are going to move around a lot. And aside from somebody like, maybe Hall and Hurst, and Hankins, I guess, they're kind of at a lock at that interior line spot. The rest of everybody else is going to move around a bunch. Because, Farrell can kick inside, Collins can kick outside, Max Crosby, I guess he's probably going to be more of an outside exclusive runner. Nassib can kick outside or inside. Like, these guys just can play a lot of places on the line. And so almost to go back to that linebacker thing, they're only defined by what their skill sets are. This whole position definition, those days are ending, man. And they're ending all over the NFL and all over the teams. But this is one that's a clear example of that these guys can freaking move around a lot.
Yeah, I have a lot of fears on the defensive side of the ball, only because we lack in the rushing category of sacking quarterbacks. We had 35 sacks last year, thanks in part to Max Crosby with his 10 should have been rookie of the year. Cleveland Farrell only had 4.5, but he is labeled as a defensive end, and, much is to be desired. But the signing of Carl Nassib, you can mix and match Carl Nassib. He had, I think, 9 sacks last season, but I'm worried about Arden Key. I'm worried about who's going to be the next person to help Max Crosby be even that much better from the defensive edge rushing position. But the interior of the line, I don't have as many concerns about. Malik Collins is a fantastic signing. Jonathan Hankins balled out last season. Maurice Hurst is proven to be a decent starter that can handle it. PJ Hall constantly makes the team. So we got 4 interior defensive linemen that can get the job done. And Cleveland Farrell can play inside as well if they need to, barring injury. But I think the true starters will be Max Crosby and Carl Nassib as the edge rushers. And then they'll bring in, Arden Key and other players at different positions. But we're still, in my opinion, slightly lacking at the defensive edge rusher position. I would love to have a 2-headed monster, and I don't know if we have one of those right now. All right, specialist. We do have a couple of kickers in. Do you think Daniel Carlson, coming off a horrid couple of games last year, do you think he loses his position as the kicker?
I think that if any one of these guys that you're looking at there is at risk, it's definitely him. And it was because of those failed kicks. What is he? He was like perfect inside the 40. And then after that, I forget what the numbers were, but they were pretty ugly. We could definitely use some help there. AJ Cole, though, is a lock. That guy's a stud.
Yeah, he missed a few kicks and really badly. So they brought in Dominic Eberle. There's talk of a Japanese kicker coming in. I don't know what's going on, but they did. And then they also put AJ Cole. I heard rumors that AJ Cole was kicking field goals on a practice field in Las Vegas just recently. And in my opinion, the NFL, to have extra spots available, you wish a punter could be a place kicker as well. You kind of wish that, then you'd have another player on the team that can kind of kick a little bit, but you can take two positions with one player in a punter and a place kicker. So I don't know if that's what A.J. Cole is trying to do, but it was pretty interesting. But I believe Daniel Carlson rights his wrongs, and he is our kicker moving forward. All right, let's go to the final battle of the day. It's not really a battle. I'm not going to talk about Derek Carr losing his job. He will not lose his job. But the backup with Mariota, the question is, will Mariota play at all this year or start a game? You guys got to watch Murf's previous podcast.
We love us some Marcus Mariota around here. All right. I don't think that Derek Carr is going to lose his job to Marcus Mariota either, but I will tell you this. If the Raiders are 1-4 going into the bye week, which is a distinct possibility considering the lineup of the team, it wouldn't surprise me if old Marcus was our starting quarterback coming out of that bye week. Now, that said, in terms of who the backup is, it's Marcus. That's it. That's it. And Nathan Peterman is going to probably be long gone, and your emergency quarterback is going to be Lynn Bowden Jr. But I'm serious, man. If we're 1-4, because look, and the one is Carolina, and we have not done good on the road on the East time zone, let alone on the East Coast all the way in Carolina. If the Raiders are 0-5 or 1-4 going into the bye week, not only is Marcus Mariota going to be your quarterback, but Rod Marinelli is probably going to be your defensive coordinator, and who knows what else is going to go on, because it won't be just Derek's fault, but seriously, dude, we're at risk. Our schedule is not easy. You mentioned it earlier in the show. Those first 5 games are freaking tough. Now, the good news is, and I'll give you some positivity to lean on, Raider Nation, if we're 3-2, God forbid we're 4-1 going into the bye week, look out, NFL. We're back, right? Because if we get through that first set of games with a winning record, it's freaking on, bro. It's going to go down. But we'll see.
One reason that could happen to win early, even though it's a bad, tough schedule for us, is because during this pandemic, we kind of already have a lot of veteran players that have been in the Gruden system for 2 years. So that bears well for a lot of players, even Derek Carr. And I think Derek Carr is in for an MVP statistical type season this year. I hope it translates to wins on the field, because I would hate that scenario that, we're 1-4, but maybe Derek Carr is throwing 300 yards a game, 2 touchdowns, but we're still losing. And then people are going to start clamoring for his head when he's playing actually good, but our defense is continuing losing us games for whatever reason. I would hate that scenario. But I love what you said about Peterman. You're right. Maybe Peterman's not going to be on the team. He's making more money than Cam Newton. He's literally making more money than Cam Newton this year with the Patriots. Get rid of his butt, sign Jadeveon Clowney or whoever else is available as the defensive edge rusher, and let's move on. But I'm proud to have Marcus Mariota as our backup. I think Derek Carr is going to have an MVP season. And long story short, barring COVID-19 quarantines, I don't see Mariota starting a game for the Raiders. Now, the Raiders are going into this training camp with 80 players. That's what the NFL is allowing. And as you've been seeing, I listed how many players are on the roster at their offense position. There's 42 on offense listed right now. Then on defense, there's 35. Then at the specialist, there's actually 3 players that are specialists. If you add all those numbers up, that's officially 80 players. That is our training camp roster that you guys were watching on screen. Now, quickly, do you see any of these undrafted players that signed with the Raiders making the official roster, not practice squad, making the official roster of the 54 or 52?
No.
Not even Javin White at the linebacker position, taking over for Morrow or one of those other players?
No, because I think they'll sign somebody like Comp to come back and play that spot and moved. And now Jay might sign Javin White, but he'll be a practice squad guy. I don't think, but if any of these guys, I think you're right, that he's the guy because of, again, and you see there, he's listed as a linebacker safety, like what Tanner Muse would be. And I think that there's a lot of value in those hybrid type players that can play multiple positions. But outside of that, no, none of these guys.
Yeah, I think it's interesting with Javon White, and he's getting so much press and so much coverage because he is from Las Vegas. I think he might find his way onto the roster, whether it be practice squad, and maybe even play in a game or two this year. Other interesting pickup is Liam McCullough, the long snapper, because they can save a bunch of money with letting go Trent Sieg. Trent Sieg just got a contract a couple years ago for, I think, a 3-year contract. And they can save $1 million or something if they like Liam McCullough, the long snapper, for the future. But that's an interesting prospect. But you want a veteran long snapper. But I was just throwing that out there.
They do, and on the playing the homer card there, where you talked about, Javin White's a UNLV guy and coming home and all that. I would just offer you this, Raider Nation: don't get too caught up in the hype behind a player playing in his hometown. Because remember when we all got excited about Keelan Doss, and then Keelan Doss literally had a pass hit him in the face that he dropped in the end zone on a Hail Mary that would have won the Raiders the game, the last game in Oakland. Remember that? Like, how beautiful of a story and this is not me crapping on Keelan Doss. I'm just saying that, like, we can't get caught up
on the team, isn't he?
He's listed right now. But, like, we can't get caught up in this whole notion of, like, the story. Look, I love the story. I love a good story. But that's not what wins you football games. Stories don't win a game.
Yeah, Keelan Doss might not even make the team this year.
I don't think so, man. I think he's on a big bubble over there.
Pretty interesting. I want the tight end Nick Bowers to make the team just so I can buy a jersey that says Bauer.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Because that's my last name.
And I'll tell you, the biggest jersey gaffe I ever made in my life was when Louis Murphy played for the Raiders, obviously, and he played during our AFL anniversary season, and they wore those gorgeous white Raider jerseys with the silver numbers on Monday Night Football against the Chargers. Do you remember this, Mikey? When Louis Murphy got hosed against the Chargers?
Oh, it was like silver and glittery.
It was just gorgeous jerseys with that AFL patch on it, and I've never been able to find. I didn't buy one back then, and I've never been able. I could barely find a Louis Murphy jersey as it is, but those AFL jerseys with Murphy on it, I'm with you, dude. I wish I would have bought one. So hopefully, if Bauer makes it, dude, you got to get one.
I'm going to find one for you somehow, dude. I got to get you a Murphy jersey.
It's got to be the AFL one, because I could probably get some Chinese company to make something with a thing, but that AFL patch on that on, you know what I'm talking about, on the white, that bright white with the silver numbers
jersey.
Yeah, it was before Color Rush. This was the AFL anniversary jerseys. This would have been
versus the Chargers. What year was it? 2010?
I believe so. Yeah, I believe it was 10. Yeah. And he got hosed on a call that was back when they had the rule
touchdown.
About
they took a touchdown away.
Yes, and we lost by, and we ended up kicking a field goal, lost the game by 4. So that touchdown made all the difference in the game. But those jerseys, those AFL anniversary jerseys with the silver numbers, with the black outline and that AFL patch on them, number 18 Murphy jersey. Yeah, if anyone's got one, I don't want it. I'll buy it from you, but I would love to have one of those damn things. They're gorgeous, and it's got my name on it.
Dude, I'm a look. I got nothing to do sometimes in life, Murph. I'm gonna be all over the internet for you. Give me some bold predictions for the upcoming season.
Wow, I don't know, man. I mean, okay. I'll tell you this. I feel like it's make or break for Derek Carr. I feel like in terms of like the honeymoon is only going to last so long in the new stadium. And I'm really rooting for him. I mean, he's such a likable guy. He's got all the regular season stats in the world in terms of like, being, by the end of this season, he's going to be your all-time statistical leading, or all-time statistical Yeah, leading quarterback for the entire history of the organization. He'll have all of Kenny's records. And so I'm rooting for that to translate to wins. So far it hasn't, and us old school Raider fans or even new school fans that know the history of the team, when you're talking about going from Daryl LaMonica to Ken Stabler, or even George Blanda, and then Jim Plunkett, when you look at those four guys, we had a 20-year run of winning, like a 20-year run with 4 Super Bowl appearances, 3 victories, repeated, playoff appearances. And, and at one time the Raiders were by percentage had the highest winning percentage of any sports franchise in the history of sports, like more than the Boston Celtics, more than the Montreal Canadiens, more than like so many different teams of not just that era, but all the eras that preceded them. That's what the Raiders used to be. So I love that Derek Carr puts up great numbers. I hate that those numbers don't translate to wins. So he's got to win football games. So my bold prediction, that this is the year that those numbers and start to translate to wins, because he's got all the weapons around him. There's no more excuses. There's no more anything. So if Derek Carr is the man, he's going to show it this season, and I got faith in him. And as much as I can be critical of him at times, as long as he's wearing the number 4 and that captain on his chest and it's in Oakland Raiders colors, he's my quarterback, man, and I'm going to root for him until the day he's not. So my bold prediction is that he's going to get out of this thing that he's been in the past couple of years and get us into 2016 Derek Carr, win some damn football games, and especially win a playoff game.
There you go. My bold prediction is, again, a lot of people are going to give me crap for it, but it's okay. I'm trying to get rid of my insecurities and learn how to deal. But I believe Nelson Aguilar will have more touchdowns than Henry Ruggs and Hunter Renfrow this season. I believe Nelson Aguilar will have more touchdowns, not yardage, not catches, will have more touchdowns than Hunter Renfrow, not combined, but individually, than Hunter Renfrow or Henry Ruggs. I'm putting it out into the world, Murph. I'm putting it out into the world. I believe Nelson Aguilar is going to have a big touchdown year.
I love your boldness, Mikey.
I love it. But I hope Henry Ruggs leads the yardage of rookies in yardage and catches all season, like Josh Jacobs did with rookie running backs. All right, this show is 2 hours long. Forgive me for the marathon.
Yeah, we got to get out of here soon.
Yeah, we're getting out of here.
People got lives, Mikey. These people got lives.
We're going to put another 10 minutes into it, but we're definitely done. But give me your quick prediction of not who wins weekly, your final season record of the schedule, because we didn't do a schedule review. Like if you want to go through win, loss, per week, go ahead.
Well, this is what's tough, man, because, I mean, seriously, like look at those first 5 games. Gosh, man, it's just brutal. And then, by the way, after the first 5 games, we got to play the GOAT and freaking, you know what I mean, and Gronkowski. Like, I mean, the schedule literally does not let up at any point. I mean, because, when you look at these different games, I mean, look, Raider Nation, clearly I'm a fan of this team. I mean, look what I do with my off time. But like when you look at the games on here, like other than the Dolphins at home, like what on here or the Colts, okay? So the Dolphins at home and the Colts at home, those kind of hit you like, all right, those are games that we should probably win. All the rest of them, what evidence do you have that says, oh yeah, we should probably win that? Okay, at the Browns, I'll give you that one. So there's another one. So there's 3 wins that were an absolute, I would say, lock for. At a minimum, we should win those games. But like at the Jets, anybody see what happened last year when we went at the Jets? We got the shit kicked. Oh, excuse me. We got the crap kicked out of us when we played at the Jets last year. Anybody ever seen what happens when we go to Atlanta? I'm going to be in Atlanta again this year. And I was in Atlanta the 2 times before that we were there and got the crap kicked out of us. Anybody sees what happens when we play the Chiefs? Anybody sees what happens when we play on the Eastern time zone? Anybody sees what happens when we play the Patriots? I mean, like you look, the Bills are like one of the more upcoming teams in the AFC. Like, look, the Chargers are going to be at the Chargers in an additional home game for us. And we won those 2 games last year. We swept them. So that gets us up to 5. After that, man, I don't know. We're good to beat the Broncos once, so that's 6. Like, okay, give us the home open or give us the opening season at the Panthers. That's 7. I think 8-8's a good year for us, Mikey. 9-7's a great year. 10-6, and we're making the playoffs is playing above expectation. And look, I fall into this every single year. My expectations for the Raiders outride my brain. And I made a vow last year. I was not going to do that again. I was going to relieve myself with the burden of expectation by expecting this team to be something more than what they were. I'm going to think of it now objectively. I'm going to give you the most unbiased opinion, even though my heart is Raiders. My heart looks at this and sees 16-0. But my brain tells me 7 wins.
Do this. Raider Post posted this. And if you could stop one of these events from happening in Raider history, which one would you pick out of the 4? Would you pick Bo Jackson injuring his hip where it did not happen? Would you pick Rich Gannon not injuring his shoulder in that championship game? Would you pick not happening us drafting Jamarcus Russell? Or would you pick us not leaving Oakland for Las Vegas? Stop one of those from happening.
I picked
in the history of the Raiders.
I picked Syracus's fat ass not falling on Rich Gannon because let me tell you why. I watched not long ago the NFL Network replay Super Bowls, and I watched the Super Bowl between the Baltimore Ravens and the New York Giants, and you could not see 2 worse quarterback performances than Trent Dilfer and Kerry Collins. There were more interceptions and bad throws in this game and fluke plays. It was absolutely ridiculous. And when you think about what the Raiders were back then and how we were humming, and granted that Baltimore defense was no joke, but we were in a position to win that football game until Gannon got hurt. And it was a blatant play. It was a cheap shot from that ass Siragusa that broke his shoulder after he landed on him. And you see it there in the picture, because because nothing is a lock in life, Mikey, but we would have about been a lock to beat the damn Giants in that game. The Raiders had a ton of, we were so good. And that, look, the tuck rule hurts, all the different things around the Raiders hurt over all the years. That was more egregious. Because look, I don't know if we'd have went on and won the Super Bowl against the freaking greatest show on turf or not against the Rams, but this one, I know we'd have freaking, at a minimum, played the Giants to the end and most likely beat them. We would have been a favorite in that game. I'll just say that. And freaking Siragusa took out Rich Gannon. So we were, these other ones are sad and they hurt and all that, but I know that one about cost us another Super Bowl. That's immaculate deception worthy. That's Rob Lytle fumble worthy. Those are things that actually cost us a chance to win and likely win the Super Bowl. So I picked that one.
That was actually the one that I picked just for the history of the Raiders in a championship type season, in the playoffs. But I'm just going to take the Bo Jackson injury because I am a LA Raider fan from the get-go, and I would have loved to see his career in LA blossom and see what could have happened if he would have became one of the best Hall of Fame running backs in the NFL. All right, one more. Stop one of these from ever happening. So we got the immaculate deception, we got the under review tuck rule, or we got John Gruden being traded to the Buccaneers, or we got the Derek Carr injury versus the Colts in 2017. Which one would you stop from happening in Raiders history if you could?
It's hard not to pick the immaculate deception, the most egregious non-call, or call, whatever you want to call it, in the history of the league. This was by all accounts, by every journalist voted, the immaculate deception is the biggest job in the entire history of the league. So it's hard not to pick that, but that happened the year before I was born. That was 1972. The tuck rule happened right in the middle of my Raider fandom, and we all watched it unfold live on television. And, that led to John Gruden leaving. You know what I mean? If it wasn't for the tuck rule, John Gruden never gets traded to the Buccaneers. So, and also when you look at the historical shift that happened because of that, because it wasn't just us not going, it was us propelling Tom Brady and the Patriots into the stratosphere to become the greatest, franchise of the last however many 2 decades now, and arguably the greatest of all time. This is what propelled that. So give me the elimination of the tuck rule, where, again, it's hard to call against immaculate deception. And those are my favorite Raiders teams of all time. Those guys are my superheroes. The Raiders of the 70s, Villapiano and Tatum and Atkinson and Skip Thomas and all those guys. But that said, man, Charles Woodson coming around that corner and knocking that ball loose and freaking them going to the review like you got pictured there. I mean, jeez, Mikey, that was brutal, dude. That was brutal, and that led to so many events that I feel like these others didn't. And real quick, just as a caveat, the Trent Cole breaking Derek Carr's ankle. Look, I would have loved to have seen what would have happened in 2016, but let's not forget the Raiders won a lot of plays, or won a lot of games late based on really aggressive play calling, and our defense was not that great. Like that, we weren't going to win the Super Bowl that year. Our defense was a sieve. We had Sean Smith out there getting burnt by Brandon Cooks. You know what I mean? Like constantly, like we weren't going to freaking win a Super Bowl. It's unfortunate because we probably would have beat the Texans in the first round of the playoffs, but I don't think that cost us a Super Bowl. Tuck rule did. Probably multiple, because if Gruden doesn't leave, we might have gone back a few times. Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
All right. Tuck rule, we'll just end it there. That I've never witnessed anything like that live that I can remember in front of my face, and we all saw it coming. Out of nowhere, the announcers start saying, oh, they might, why are they talking so long? They might come up with, the tucking. All of a sudden, the announcers and the reporters are talking about this rule that has not been used in many, many, many years. Where did that come from? So when the announcer started saying it, I'm like, can it be? And then the call came down, and the rest is history. And my God, that is a day that will live in infamy.
Yeah. And we stopped being good. I mean, I know we went to the Super Bowl the next year with Bill Callahan, but like after the Immaculate Deception, we didn't stop being good. We won the Super Bowl within the next few years in 76, and we're in many AFC Championship games. Like that didn't derail the path of the Raiders. You know what I mean? Where again, Gruden leaving is a result of the tuck rule, and we stopped being good. Now, granted, so did Trent Cole breaking Derek Carr's leg. That kept us from being good after that as well. But again, I think there was a more fluky nature to it to that season, much more so than like what the Raiders had going on in 2001 underneath the tuck rule.
Oh my God. I love that from Raider Post. Raider Post always puts out great Twitter content.
Yes.
And I love him. He makes me laugh. He makes me think, and nothing but love for Raider Post. You guys check him out on Twitter.
Absolutely.
That's Raider Post. All right, Murph, there it is. We got our marathon done. Hopefully my mic lasts till the end of the show. My face is turning red, no pun intended. So there it is. But hey, thank you guys for tuning in. We had a lot of technical difficulties, but we got through it like champions, and I'm proud to be back on the airwaves. And more importantly, I was proud to see my good buddy Murph, who's always given me positivity in life. And you've really been there for me. Like, you're like, we don't talk on the phone, but you're like always there. And then you accept whatever pain or turmoil I'm going through with passion and love. And I respect it. And you understand me that I'm a mess, but you love it.
I love you, man. Hey, man, we all got our things. You got your things. I got mine. Everybody out there listening,
we got things.
We all got our own things, man. But you know what, brother? Dude, we love your passion, first and foremost, as a Raider fan. You're a good human being. You got a good heart. You love people, man. And that's what it's all about. And I respect that in you always and forever.
I appreciate it. All right, everybody. So if you want to tune into this channel for more content, hopefully I'll have a Raiders Roundtable coming up soon. Murph, let everybody know. You can find his links in the description later tonight. But let everybody know what you're doing on your channel, what's coming up, and how they can find you. You can find us youtube.com/Murph's Fan Cave. That's MURFS Fan Cave. So please do us a favor. We just recently crossed the 2,000 subscriber mark. So please continue to support us in that way by subscribing to the channel. And heck, let's shoot for 3,000 now. So that's youtube.com/Murph's Fan Cave. If you're interested in the Compton jersey, if you got more than $500, because that's the latest offer, then definitely
definitely send us an offer on that. But we have lots of other fundraising opportunities coming up. Mikey, I started a nonprofit, something that you and I haven't even talked about. I started a nonprofit called the One Nation Foundation, and we're gonna have a huge initiative behind that going forward, where we're going to contribute to many Raider charities and Raider organizations. So, anyways, all that is possible because of Raider Nation, because of our listeners, because of the likes, the subscribes, the retweets. So please check us out on YouTube, subscribe to us, watch the videos. And then also, if you're an audio podcast listener, just search Murf's Fan Cave, MURFS Fan Cave on any podcast service, Apple, Google, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Spotify, you name it. We're on all those things. Subscribe to us. Please like it, man. Like it, subscribe to it, rate it, do anything you can to help support us. And just know that anything that we get in terms of love from Raider Nation, we're gonna shoot that back out, man, on your behalf by giving to these charities, by giving to this nonprofit, doing things like this, man, like raising money for the tornado relief here in Middle Tennessee, and also just a multitude of other charities like the Stabler Exo Foundation, the Bolitnikoff Foundation.
You're doing great.
There's all that stuff, man. That's all my desire is to give out with this. So the I can't do it if you're not watching, not listening, and not hitting the button, man. So just hit the bell, hit the thumbs up, hit the subscribe, whatever those things are, man. And I much appreciate what you do for us already.
Yeah, quick little hypocrisy story about YouTube, if I can get into it. Speaking of charities, because of you, everything you've been doing throughout the years, Raider Cody just recently to that foundation, the youth foundation. I was like, I watch videos of big YouTubers and they have a charity link above the chat room. There's like an actual charity link where people can click on it for a certain charity and donate on the actual YouTube page. And I was like, you know what, Mikey Raider, you got to get into this donation spirit. Let me find out how to put that link to one of these charities on our videos. So I looked into it yesterday and I was trying to do it, but you can only put the link to a charity to earn money if you have over 100,000 subscribers.
Oh,
does that make any sense? Why can't a person with 50,000 subscribers get donations to a charity? Why do they have to have 100,000 subscribers to have that option available on YouTube videos? It makes no sense to me.
Yeah, and I hate that, and first off, I'm completely remiss by not crediting Raider Cody as well, who is the co-chair of this new foundation that I've started. He is
it's you and him. Great.
Yes, and he is absolutely responsible equally for this initiative. He did his own fundraising things, which was brilliant what he did for the Greater Youth Sports Association. We did our thing for Bolitnikoff last year. We're doing a thing for EXO this year, and he and I talked and we decided to combine forces, and that's ultimately what formed this One Nation Foundation. So but thank you for shouting that out too, because I did not know that. And I will definitely, what we're doing is an official nonprofit. So this is not just like some fan initiative thing or whatever. Like, I've founded this, this company and this corporation, and Cody and I are co-chairing it together. And so whatever opportunities are out there for us to link it up to different sites with different YouTubers or content creators.
Yeah, link it up to
all
Venmo
that stuff.
too.
We're going to do all that.
Money that way.
Yeah, we're going to do all that stuff, and know that we're going to give it all away. We're going to give it all the way to these charities. So it's going to be cool.
Fantastic. All right. I just thought it was ridiculous because I finally wanted to support a charity. I was like, you know what? I'm in the giving spirit. The Lord has given to me recently, and I was like, I wanted to do it. And then YouTube's like, nope, not until you have 100,000 subscribers.
Well, then let's get Mikey to 100,000, man. Then he link into the One Nation Foundation. How about that?
There you go. If YouTube accepts it, or do they have their own?
Oh, that's true too. Well, then I'll start writing them letters for discriminating against us for being Raider fans.
All right. It's time to get on out of here. Thank you guys for tuning in. Let me sing the song and let's get on out of here. Thank you guys for a wonderful day. Here we go.
Hey, first off, wait, real quick. Thank you, man. Thank you, dude. I'm so glad to be back here. I miss this show, brother. And we get people hit us up all the time. What happened to Mondays with Mikey and Murf? What happened to Mondays with... Well, here we are. We're back at it. It's season 3. I don't know how regularly we're going to bring content to you, but just know this, man. Mikey and I are both dedicated to this show, and I'm thankful to be back here with my buddy Mikey, man. This has been a lot of fun tonight. A lot of fun talking Raider football with you, brother, and look forward to more of this.
Yeah, thank you. We'll definitely have at least one more show before the season starts. I think so. And then hopefully we'll be able to do it weekly. Again, I have a lot of setbacks. I'm not going to go into that. But we're having season 3. Long story short. The boys are back in town. I think one of the people tweeted that, and I loved it. I thought it was great. The boys are back in town. Yeah. All right, let's get on out of here. This has been Mondays with Mikey, Heath, Murf. We talked a lot of Raiders and football dirt because we're trying to be a cool Raider talk show. We number 3 so far. Let's go. This has been Mondays with Mikey and Murf. We'll see you in about 2.5 to 3 weeks. We're out.